9 o'clock. Now that one's not so big.
I hate 8 o'clock. I set my alarm for 8 o'clock in the summer.
Good evening, Washington Courthouse. It is 7:30 PM, June 14th, 2023. Time for our first regular meeting of the month. At this time, Mr. Hawk will offer an invocation and Mr. Blair will lead us in the pledge. If you're able, wish to stand, please do so.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity to meet together and to do our civic duty. I thank you that you have provided us such a good country and a good town to live in. And I pray, Father, that you would help us today as we deliberate on different issues, that we may make wise decisions and proper decisions and things that'll take us in the right direction. I just pray that you would help each individual person in this town. And I thank you that you are so good to us. And I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Obviously, we're missing Kelly, so we have to expect Mr. Denon to be a little slower on the draw.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
Schultz.
Here.
Blair.
Here.
Chrisman.
Here.
Hawk.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lynch.
Here. We have the minutes from the regular meeting, May 24th, 2023. You've had a chance to look those over. Does anybody have any changes? If not, do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move that, if there is no changes, I'll move that we accept the minutes as printed here on the paper.
Second.
Roll call.
Schultz.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
I'll abstain since I was not there. And I would mention that I've taken a lot of pride in not missing many meetings in the years I've been on city council, but I take more pride in my grandson and the Blue Lions baseball team, and that's why I wasn't here. But I appreciate your excusing me, and I enjoyed the that evening when we won the game. So anyway, we're to communications, Mr. Denon.
None.
And we have two reports of our city council committees. The first is economic strategies. That would be PennDOT.
Economic Strategies and Cooperation Committee met in the City Council chambers of 105 North Main Street on Wednesday, May 24th, 2023 at 5 p.m. I presided, and those in attendance were Mr. Steve Schultz, council member, Mr. Jim Chrisman, council member, Mr. Ted Hawk, council member, Mr. Jody Langley, Assistant Fire Chief, Mrs. Chelsea Baker, Economic Development Director, Mr. Mark Pitstick, City Attorney, Mr. Joseph Denon, City Manager, and Sean Remington. Number one, there are approximately industrial business. There are approximately 45 projects open for the Washington Courthouse Industrial Park. Project updates and visits. 3 projects have Washington Courthouse at the top of their lists. An update was given on Project Pencil, Project Crane, and a third project, which would be a support business to Intel. Number C, or letter C, Plastilini ribbon cutting is scheduled for June 7th at 10:30 to 2. Honda LG community event is scheduled for June 3rd, 11 to 2:30. Downtown, business updates. Kitty's Cat Fe just received their plumbing permit and are nearing a grand opening. An update was provided on downtown business expansion, relocations, and closings. June events were provided. Main Street Shop Hop scheduled for June 9th, celebrating Dad, as well as the longest day event scheduled for June 10th. Commercial, 753 and 35 development. There are still lots of interest specifically for convenience store or gas station use. And miscellaneous, The community forum, the county is to arrange a community forum to discuss topics and concerns regarding the mega site projects and its feeder businesses. Land use plan, the county has plans to update its land use plan in the spring with a major focus on Jeffersonville. Housing study, the Gossman Group has put together a master plan for residential development. Once that plan and data is finalized, we will share. And Honda LG meeting, a handful of representatives from Honda and LG, county, city, and Jobs Ohio met to begin planning for the hiring of employees at the EV plant. A timeline and expectations for full on board were shared. Respectfully submitted, myself, chairperson, and Mr. Joe Denon, recording secretary.
Thank you, Kendra. Any questions, comments?
I do believe I was there. I didn't see my name in the beginning.
Oh, I didn't mention your name.
Well, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but
We will add Mr. Johnson.
we will add Mr. Johnson as being present.
I think you were here too.
Yeah.
Any other changes or comments?
So with that addition of Mr. Johnson being added to it, I will move to approve these minutes.
I'll second.
And roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Sure, yes. And Finance and Personnel, Mr. Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The City of Washington Courthouse Finance and Personnel meeting was held on May 24th, 2023. We met in the City Council chambers of 105 North Main Street on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mr. Jim Blair presided, and those in attendance were Mr. Jim Chrisman, council member, Mr. Steve Schultz, council member, Mr. Ted Hawk, council member, Ms. Kendra Hernandez, council member, Mrs. Christina Collins, finance director, Mr. Joseph Denon, city manager, Mr. Mark Pitstick, city attorney, Mr. Jody Langley, assistant fire chief, Mr. Sean Remington, representing Triangle Trail Committee, and Mrs. Sylvia Call, citizen. Number one, the committee benefited from a report of the statement of cash for the month ending on April the 30th, 2023. Mrs. Collins noted that the reconciliation with local government services should be completed by late June. Number two, the committee benefited from a report on the investments of the City of Washington Courthouse. Number three, the committee benefited from a report on personnel issues given by Mr. Denon. The administration advised that interviews would begin for the open tax department position. Number four, the committee noted that interviews for the 3 open patrol positions at the police department had begun. Number five, the administration noted that Morgan Williams had been hired for the operator in training position at the water plant. Number six, the administration noted that Caleb Bauman had been hired for seasonal employment with plans to transfer to full-time water distribution. Number seven, the committee discussed community housing improvement program requests for continued cooperation with Fayette County. The committee recommended that legislation be brought to council to enter into agreement. Number eight, the administration advised the committee of the Honda event at the Fayette County Airport to be held on June the 3rd, 2023 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Number nine, the administration advised the committee of a Memorial Day ceremony at the Old Cemetery on Friday, May 26th at noon, and the traditional ceremony at the Washington Cemetery at 10 a.m. Number 10, the administration advised the committee of the cooperative efforts of the Master Gardeners, the City of Washington Courthouse, and students from Bel Air Elementary for the planting of a flower pot in front of the city administration building. And lastly, the committee benefited from a general report of the Human Resource Department. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Jim Blair, Chairperson, Finance and Personnel, and Mr. Joe Denon, Recording Secretary.
Thank you for that extensive report, Mr. Blair. Are there, well, I
I
assume
do
Mr.
believe-
Johnson was there.
I was also present, yes.
Well,
He
we'll
was a
add-
ghost that day,
Yes.
We'll add Mr. Johnson. Any
although
other
I did see him.
changes? Someone want to make a motion with that
I'll make,
addition?
so made.
Okay,
So I'll second it.
okay. Roll call?
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. Next, we have Mr. Dennon's report for this evening. He's doing double duty here, so we'll give you a second.
Okay, there we go.
I'd like to note the efforts of the land bank, the city and county, and the excellent demolition progress. We're gonna go through a summary that was current as of last week, but we've even made some progress since then. 932 Temple Street, completed, fill soil and topsoil place. 624 Rawlings Street was demolished using wet demolition methods because of asbestos and debris removed from Fayette County landfill. Soil was imported to 624 Rawlings Street in the site regraded, seeded, and strawed. Abatement commenced at 324 North Main Street on Thursday, and I haven't been down there today. We should have made a whole lot more progress down there. And there was a little bit of a delay there. 324 North Main Street. I know the garage has gone back there, and the house ought to be by now probably about gone. I haven't been down there today. Activities resumed June 12th and continued abatement and demolition activities on North Main, and again, it's gone. Thank all involved in the June Honda event. It was very nice. The community showed itself well. And the Honda people were extremely accommodating, and it was just a nice day. And, you know, a lot of folks make an effort to go out those type of things and welcome folks like Honda, and we really appreciate that. Equally, Plastilini, it was nice to welcome them to the industrial park, and things like food packaging can sound not that exciting. However, Plastilini is really an example of an advanced manufacturing facility where you can do amazing things with plastics, and that is part of the wonders of your everyday life. But really incredibly nice people, and we were enormously pleased with that. We'd like to express thanks to Union Township trustees concerning resolution of annexation matters and concerning that Bryant property, which would be out beyond Home Depot. Had a nice visit with the trustees last night, and really do truly appreciate that.
Again, that is my report for this evening. I did want to note and express condolences to the family of Don Moore. Mr. Moore was an incredibly dedicated individual of our community, dedicated to the school district, dedicated to the Fayette County Museum, and served us well on the Board of Zoning Appeals for many years. And it's a shame that Mr. Moore is no longer with us. On the lighter side, would like to point out Paul LaRue's Cemetery Walk on the 19th day of June, 6:30. And also there's some demolition pictures that I included with you about our various activities in the community, and you'll get an update next week. But really want to stress the enormous cooperation we've received and how much progress we've been able to make together with the county and the land bank. And that has really been kind of a joint effort there, and we really have been pleased with our results.
Does anybody have any questions? I would just comment, Mr. Schultz and I'm not sure because I wasn't out there the whole time if anybody else made it, but the Honda event out at the airport was very nice. They did a great job of telling people about what it was going to be like. So you had pictures of the facility when it's finished, you know, and they had great food.
Great
We can
food. Yeah,
testify
it
to
was
that.
nice. Nice
And
afternoon.
some pretty neat cars that they brought in, some electric cars and some racing cars and all kinds of things. It was very nice. And then I also had the opportunity to participate in the Plastilini grand opening. They've been open for a while, but that is some facility. I was extremely impressed. The head of that whole organization was there. They're based out of Columbia, but we are the first American company from them, and it is impressive. What they do there is very impressive, and I think we found out from that meeting that Sugar Creek had a major part in helping get them here.
Yeah, Sugar Creek would really like to thank them. They worked with us and they worked with Plastilini and really should be credited for the assistance that they offered in that respect.
But that facility is something else. Very high-tech, very neat. It's fun to see. They also had good food, I might add. That's just another story. Anyway, I just wanted to mention those two. And we have several other companies that are quite interested in Washington Courthouse in Fayette County, as was mentioned in Kendra's report. We're the place to be.
It sounds like it.
Anyway, anything else for Mr. Denny? Thank you, Mr. Denny. I do not think our Director of Finance is here. She was, but I think she left. She was here
Oh,
for
I thought
the
you still, okay, I got you.
Mr. Pitstick,
Mr. Chairman, I have no report tonight.
cutting some grass, are you?
We are cutting, well, not as
It
much.
slowed down, didn't
He
it?
slowed
It's
down.
speeding back up.
Rain.
I'm sure. Okay, thank you. And now we have some local residents who wish to speak. First is Mr. Smalley. If you would come forward, tell us your name and your address, please, and then whatever you have to say to us.
I will do my best to stand here. I'm over 100% disabled veteran, and I don't stand very well.
Well, if you wish to sit down, go right ahead.
I will go ahead and stand here and appropriately sit down.
Okay.
On top of that, what I wrote, Matt
Yep.
Dillon and Wyatt Earp, this town needs both of them.
John, can you give us your name again and your address? Your
I
name?
don't have an address right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
I'm living at the motel out next to Holiday Inn Express. I've been living in there for over a month now.
Okay.
So that's the reason I
Thank you.
put down
Thank
my box number.
Okay.
Put down a P.O.
I'm
box.
trying to find an apartment to rent in this
Hard.
village.
It's
There's
difficult.
none,
I know, you're right.
and it's getting worse, so.
Anyway, go ahead.
The reason I say Wyatt Earp and Matt and Mr. Dillon, there's a lot of lawlessness in this now, and it's not being taken care of. For 5 years, I've been trying to get these signs on Columbus Avenue from Delaware Street out. Right now, most of the traffic signs are behind leaves, branches, or trees. You can't write a ticket, and the police department can't write a ticket and make it valid with this situation. I've talked to the supervisor, and he said, well, those belong to the state. I talked to the state superintendent out here of the Ohio Department of Transportation. The only thing that belongs to the state is the pavement. Those signs belong to Washington Courthouse. And so in doing, this has been going on for 5 years, I'm gonna give you 7 days to correct this situation. Starting tomorrow, and the 8th day, I will go and write to the Ohio State Attorney General's office and write a brief about what's going on and request a upgrade of all the tickets written in the last 5 years where there's been no signs covered up. or been signs covered up, and those to be go back and be, those people be taking their, giving their money back for those tickets, and also have their license rejuvenated. Now, I've had this happen. I had one lady I called up, she said, well, we're probably out mowing grass. Well, this has been going on, and every one of you in here has gone out Columbus Avenue and seen this situation. You may not have understood it, but you can't do that. It's against the law. Mr. Pickstick will tell you about that, because he asked me earlier, and I didn't want to give him my questions so he could come up with some answers. I wanted him to hear what's going on. I came in town tonight on 22 from the Holiday Inn Express. My car is, the cruise control will go at 20 miles an hour. And so I set it on 35. I had a guy come up behind me probably 40 miles an hour. In the last 2 years, I have not seen this police department write a ticket. Now, something's going wrong. They ought to be pulling some people over and writing tickets. On Columbus Avenue, I saw a tanker truck, I was running 35, go by me one night, running at least 45 to 50 miles an hour. A tanker, fuel tanker, 8 to 10,000 gallon type. Now, you found out what happened in Philadelphia when a tanker goes up. It's the same thing that happened in Columbus about 10 years ago. You're going to have to start cracking down. You got 2,000 people going to come to this Fayette County. How many of them are going to come to Washington Courthouse? And these people are intelligent people. If you see the price or what the salaries are, these people aren't going to want to live in a town like this. They want to know that the stop signs where people stop. I stop as everything I can. I make my very best to do. I stop at every stop sign. I watch the speed limit. I watch what's going on. But not in this town. Everybody's doing what they want to do. And it's time for this town to get on the ball and get it under control. Because this is going to get worse. 2,000 people coming to work here in Fayette County. Approximately 750 to 1,000 new homes going up in Washington Courthouse. I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Obviously, you just brought it up. I drive out Columbus Avenue tons of times. I know exactly what the speed limits are.
But if there's a sign covered over,
Well,
you
I
cannot
see
write a
signs.
ticket on it.
I see signs. I know it's 25 until you get to a certain place because it changes to 35. I'll have to go back and look. You may be right, but I see signs.
There's
But I
about
think this
half a dozen.
community is a great place to live, and I think that's why those companies are coming here. So I disagree with you on that point, too.
I had one of the councilmen here tell me that years ago when I brought this up before the council, that this is the way they like to have it. They don't want to rub anybody and have any bad influence on anybody or hurt anybody's feelings or so on and so forth. It's time you start hurting some feelings and get this town under control.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any questions? Mr. Pistick,
I have no questions.
am I right or wrong?
Well, again, I don't know what you're exactly talking about. I don't know any specific stop sign, that's covered up. Again, we will review what you've said and, go from there.
Well, you got the week from tomorrow, and then I go to the State Attorney General's office.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
And next, Mrs. Call, you wanted to speak to us. Come right up.
Thank you.
So Sylvia Call, 327 North Main. So I talked last time about some curbside recycling ideas and what that might look like, and you guys came up with a lot of good questions to be able to move forward. So I've got some answers, and most of them are, I think, answers that you guys are gonna like. So one of the big questions was, what does this look like as far as how we currently have trash pickup set up? Is this going to inhibit individuals from being able to do that? So after I looked into it, Erica Tucker, who's our solid waste gal, the director at the solid waste plant, said, no, we could do an individual contract with Rumpke for just recycling. And she reached out to Rumpke to double check what that might look like. It's not super common, however, it was like that in Huntington, West Virginia, and I lived there for a few years, and I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, because there were a lot of independent trash carriers. We had somebody different than the guy down the road, but we all had curbside recycling. So they contracted that way. The population in Huntington, according to 2021 census, is 46,000. Our population, 2021, is 14,000. So they're a lot bigger than we are. Rumpke at that point required them to have 1,000 people sign up for that program to service it. I don't know what the number would be to have Courthouse be able to be a part of that program through Rumpke, but I'm guessing it would be less than 1,000 since our population is significantly smaller than Huntington. So we don't have to kick anybody out of business. We don't have to finagle with the health department. We can just contract through Rumpke. Erica's working with Rumpke right now to kind of get a quote, but she didn't know if you guys had any parameters, if you guys, she said, and she was on vacation, so she wasn't able to be here tonight, but she's hoping to be here next meeting. But she said if we get an idea of, are we wanting to mandate it? Are we wanting to just let people who are interested in doing it do that? So she's like, depending on what that looks like, that's gonna alter the cost. She still has her $30,000 grant to cover it. The example that Rumpke gave her, and the guy that she talked to said, this looks a lot different based on a lot of different things. So this is really just a ballpark number. But he said about $15 a month per person who wants to do curbside recycling. So 15 bucks a month, give or take. She said she can't imagine it being more than $20, but she's like, there's a little bit of leeway there. She's got, and she said she can work her grant a few different ways, but she said the most common way that she's done this grant before, she did it with Commercial Point, Ohio, Solid Waste did, was that they give them a stipend the first year, and they give them a stipend the second year, and then after that, you're kind of on your own. There's also the $200,000 through Ohio EPA that's earmarked for that specific purpose. Part of that has to be paid back. A fourth of whatever you end up borrowing has to be paid back for them. So it's not entirely free money. Let me see what else. Did we have any other questions that I didn't answer? Because we talked about the grants and whether the grants would still work. The grants still work if we just do the recycling piece, not the trash and recycling through Rumpke. So grants are still good to go. If we go that route, we can still have our independent providers. And then I just thought it was super exciting hearing about the Plastilini. I just think that's fabulous, and they're doing a lot of work with plastic recycling. They can contract with Rumpke, so your local bottle of water that you recycle in your curbside recycling program goes down the road into the plant that is opening in our town, and it can be reused, and it's just super cool. It's just a neat concept to me that's available. And I think, you know, coming from someone who lived in a larger place, and I know Kendra shared that when she lived in Kentucky in a larger city, it was kind of an expected perk of being a citizen in that town that you have the capacity to use curbside recycling. This is the first place I've ever lived that doesn't have it. I remember when my husband and I first moved here, we called and got things set up, and I was like, okay, so what day does curbside come? And they're like, we don't have curbside. It's not a thing here. And I'm like, what? How does that not happen here? So I feel like with Honda moving in and with things progressing, and especially, you know, just kind of want to build that vibrancy and that progressive mindset and have that as an opportunity for citizens here. So that's all I've got, unless you guys have more homework for me that I will gladly do.
More homework.
Well, when we looked at, Mrs. Call, when we looked into this before, several years ago, one of the issues was we're not as big as the places that you're talking about. So Rumpke or whoever, and I think it was Rumpke, but I'm not sure, they were going to mandate that everybody had to do it in the community. And I have found out when you try to mandate something,
Yeah.
you got problems. I don't care what it is. In this day and age, mandating anything is very difficult.
Yeah.
So I guess one question I have, if it's just me on my block that wants to get it, can I do that? Or does everybody in Washington Courthouse who has a home or an apartment or whatever have to do it? Because
So-
that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think when Erica posed to me, I need to see what council wants to do. Do we want to mandate citywide? Do we want to leave options? And I said, just based on my conversation last time, I feel like options are what we would look at to be able to really impact that change. She acted like that was kosher with Rumpke, the guy that she talked to, and he knew that she was talking about Washington Courthouse. So he's aware that we do have a smaller population than places like Huntington, West Virginia, but he didn't say anything to the contrary of like we have to have a blanket issue. She even shared that if we do get enough participation, it might be possible for Rumpke to instill areas within city limits for businesses to be able to recycle, because currently businesses aren't allowed to recycle within city limits. At all. She said she turns a blind eye, and she knows that some do, and she's thankful for that, but they're not allowed to. So she said with the installation of this program, that would be a possibility for small business owners as well.
Well, I don't, first of all, we recycle, so I'm
Yeah.
all for it. The only thing, like I said, that stops this, we have 14,000 people, but we don't have 14,000 homes.
Sure.
So you're already cutting way back. And now you get half the people say, no, you're not mandating that I'm gonna have recycling.
Yeah.
I think there also needs to be an education, because I think a lot of times people don't understand it. Or they're just afraid, people are afraid of change, period. That's just the facts of life.
Yeah.
So I think we have to think, how are we gonna educate, and then also maybe set a goal with Rumpke, you know, the first year, this is what our goal is, second year, this is our goal. And
Yeah.
then hopefully we can live up to that, and maybe in that, they'll give us a better deal.
Yeah, I think that's great. Rumpke is currently expanding their operations in the state of Ohio, so they're close to doubling the amount of recycling that they're required to process. So I do think, I mean, I'm sure Rumpke wouldn't be thrilled that we are aware of that, but I do think it's likely that they would give a better price for our community just based on that, because that's per state of Ohio. They don't have a say in that. So if they're needing to expand what they are able to process substantially, like double, that's gonna have to come from somewhere. So, I don't
And
know.
what if another trash carrier decides we wanna pick up
You know,
recycling?
they wanna do a bidding war type thing over Rumpke.
Or they just wanna pick it up and
Yeah.
Rumpke wants, I mean, there's a lot of issues still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I'm all for it, I would.
No,
do it.
I agree.
I'm just being devil's advocate here, I know
Yeah.
what the problems can be.
Yeah.
So-
I don't, go ahead.
Walk me through it a second. So let's say it's your situation. You move here for the first time,
Sure.
and you want recycling. Do you call Rumpke or the city?
So I called Rumpke when we first lived here, and they said we just don't have it there. And I called Pro Waste, and they said we don't have it there. You guys don't have a recycling program. Nobody does it.
So if we implemented this with Rumpke, they would contact Rumpke directly.
Yes, it would not be through the city.
And then, so Rumpke would offer it, and then, would the individual have to buy a special sort of recycling
No,
waste receptacle?
it's free. So there's an 18-gallon waste receptacle that's provided from Rumpke free. Well, as part of the program. So it's included in your, whatever your monthly cost is, yeah.
Alright, and then you would just have recycling on whatever day is
Whatever
set
day, yeah.
by them.
hmm
So if you get your trash from somewhere else,
It
would
could be totally different,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and they provide discounts if you, I mean, obviously, if you use their trash and their recycling, and that happens the same day. So there are perks for doing that, but it's not necessary to citywide go to Rumpke.
I guess my question is, if Rumpke is doubling their operation, and they're so large, how come they're not advocating in the cities and putting advertisement out that we're gonna offer this if you want it? Why don't they do that?
I don't know. I think that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that
sounds
one
like to
though.
me that would be something that would help their business.
You need to call
And
their
they're already
marketing
in
guy.
town and doing that, and why don't they start handing out flyers to
Yeah.
all their customers, say, we're gonna offer this, and here's what the price is gonna
Yeah.
be, or whatever the case may be, why aren't they doing it?
I don't know. I
That's a
don't,
good question.
yeah.
Because quite frankly, if we do this, they owe you a lot of money for the free work you're doing, saying Rumpke so many times.
Yes, that's right. You're
Well, that
advertising.
depends on how many people are watching this video.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just seems like an obvious
Fairly
question.
minuscule.
Why?
No, I agree, and
why
I
are they
don't
doing
know.
it?
I don't
You
know
know?
if they are doing, because I know they do a lot of outreach with the solid waste programs that are set
Uh-huh.
up for each county.
Yes.
Because when I talked to Erica Tucker, that's her point of contact. That's who they use. That's
Okay.
who she recommends.
Okay.
So she is on kind of a first name basis with them. But yeah, I've never had anybody approach me at my house saying, "Do you
Right,
want to
that's what I'm
recycle?" Yeah,
saying.
no,
I've
I
never heard
agree.
of any- I've never seen any
Yeah.
advertisement in our city, nothing
No,
about recycling.
no, I agree, and
So
I
if they
think
want
that's
to
a
do recycling so badly, how comes they're not advertising?
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I know they're excited about this new
Yeah.
plant, the recycling plant in
That's
courthouse,
interesting.
because they can sell, I mean, they make money off of it,
Mhm.
so they can sell those plastics to them.
It's kinda
Yeah,
like
I don't
we all-
know. Yeah.
Kinda like we all work for Kroger and Walmart now, do you realize that?
Oh, yeah, oh, I know.
We all work
Yeah.
for them.
I'm a good bag
We don't realize it,
girl.
but we're going in there buying,
Yeah.
paying the price, and we're bagging it up ourselves and carrying it out.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's a different concept. I don't know why they don't market more, or maybe they push through certain agencies and are hoping then that those agencies present to the public. Because I know solid waste gets grant money from Ohio EPA to provide
Maybe they're not allowed
education,
to.
so.
Maybe
I
they're
don't
not allowed.
know, I don't
That's
know.
a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
Does Erica have a entity, like another city that we could look at? Like,
So,
and that is similar to courthouse and
Yeah.
how we wanna do it?
yeah, so Commercial Point, Ohio is in Pickaway County, so they service Pickaway County. It's smaller than we are, but she said they're on the verge of cityhood, so they're a little smaller than we are, but they implemented it there, she said about 5 years ago. They paid for the entire recycling program the first year. The second year, citizens covered half of that monthly bill. And then by the third year, she said the goal was, if you've participated for 2 years, you like the program, you're used to it, it's a routine, and it's not a new change, so you keep going. And she said, by and large, people kept going, and they still have their recycling program. The grant money at least from solid waste has dried up now, but
Do we
they
have
still
a percentage
continue.
on how many participated the first year versus second? and
I'll
third?
ask her. That's a great
Okay.
question to
'Cause
just
that
see
way we
who
can,
stayed
like,
with
that
it.
would be a goal,
Yeah.
like, we could use that as,
Yeah, and I feel like
Alright.
it's probably going to be comparable here. If it's free, a lot more people are apt to do it than if you have to chip in half or full. Yeah, I think that's valid.
Mr. Johnson brings up a good point too. Has anybody looked into other companies besides the one that's been mentioned 100 times?
No, and that's when I reached out
Guess what?
because, that's not my area of expertise. I'm an autism therapist, so I can talk to you guys all day about autism. But when it comes to recycling, I know I like to, but I don't really like to drive out to Robinson Road with a car full of trash. So, but when I reached out to Erica Tucker, that's who they use, so that's who she advocates for, and she's kind of our point of contact here. That's not saying it has to be them. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I'm not the gal that knows a lot
Right,
about the
that's
other
fine,
places.
yeah.
It just seems like if Rumpke would start advertising, then other companies would advertise.
Sure, and
Maybe
it
you
would
got a bidding
be
war
a
going
thing.
on, sort of.
well,
Yeah.
we don't have, that's because city's not doing this. Do we have to offer that as a bid? too?
Typically, a community, when they do this, you'll solicit proposals from Rumpke or Waste Management or
Yeah.
Pro Waste,
Okay, we
whoever
do.
wants to bid on it.
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Now,
yeah.
Sylvia, just so that I'm not confused about this, you have some grant money opportunities, but let's say that this costs $30,000 a year. Like a Rumpke is gonna want a $30,000 check from the city of Washington Courthouse, and they're not gonna wanna try to collect the $15 or $20 a month from Dale Lynch, Steve Schultz, and all the customers that they got signed up.
That's possible, and I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
check with her,
Typically, yeah, they're gonna want,
to see how that looks.
yeah. See, because there's nothing that prevents, if Rumpke tomorrow wanted to offer recycling to Dale Lynch or Steve Schultz or Ken Hernandez, then they can do that tomorrow.
Right,
But typically, they want essentially guaranteed payment,
yeah,
Mhm.
really, what it boils down to.
I'm guaranteed participation.
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, so I
So-
think that's a valid question to talk to Erica and whatever entity that we go with, but.
Usually, it's been a long time since I thought about this, but usually the rate that you pay, it's more efficient when essentially you basically say everybody's gonna do it. And essentially the per person rate goes down versus the voluntary, some do, some don't. Just common sense.
It is, and she shared that if it's an across-the-board mandate, then it's
It's cheap.
significantly cheaper.
Per unit.
However, I mean, people don't like to be told what to do, and people don't like change. So, you know,
And, you know, if it's city paying for it, you know, you have to think about, do you just wanna eat the cost of that, or do you wanna raise revenue to do that?
But how do you pass that on to the customer? If it's not mandated?
Again, it's been a while since I've looked at this. Some people do it through their utility bill.
yeah. When I lived in
Oh.
Jackson, Ohio, it was like that. You had your electricity, and then it was separate trash recycling,
Mhm.
but it was all in the one bill.
Some people do it, I would assume that you could probably find some example where some people do it through some sort of levy.
We still have several things to look into.
We
Yes.
do. I
More
found homework
homework.
again. I can do that. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
All
Call,
right, thank you.
Good.
Mrs. Call,
Yes.
I want to thank you for your time and effort you put into this. In principle, I believe in successful recycling. Some of the programs, and I'm not any one specific one, have not been that successful.
You're right.
If you follow the news, how much of our stuff gets recycled, 3% or 10%, whatever, it's a low figure.
It is.
And you did mention Commercial Point. I'm familiar with Commercial Point. I don't know what the population is. But I'm pretty sure if you checked, you'd find out their net income and their net worth is much higher than Washington Courthouse.
I'm not sure. That's likely.
Yeah. And one merchant up there said, these people don't care what anything costs, they buy it anyway.
Yeah. But I will say, Jackson, Ohio, my hometown where I grew up, is very comparable to Washington Courthouse, income-wise, size-wise, and they've had recycling since I was wee.
Well, I'm
So,
sure they have, but
Yeah,
I just pointing out that when
right.
when money doesn't mean anything, I won't say it doesn't mean anything to you, but when it's not taking food out of your kid's mouth,
Right.
$15 a month or 20 to what a pretty good population in this town would be a bunch of money.
Right. You're right. I don't at all discount what you're
My kids are all
saying.
grown, thank God.
Yeah. No,
But,
but you're right. That is something to think about.
So-
But yeah, I'm
But I
not
don't
sure
have
about
anything
Commercial
against
Point.
Recycling.
Yeah. No, and I
didn't
think.
want to throw cold water on your work, but
No,
just-
I think it's a good question, and I think this one is a lot bigger than chickens. I feel like so it's more to think about, and it's more to converse about, and just get additional information. So yeah,
I appreciate
agree.
the fact that you did it.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Where it ends up is where it ends up.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. I'll
Thank
do
you.
my homework for next time.
Thank you.
Okay, So legislation previously introduced, our first is resolution number R 24/2023. Its second reading.
I'll make a motion to put resolution number R 24/2023 on a second reading.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the city manager, Joseph J. Denon of the City of Washington Courthouse to enter into a joint agreement with the Fayette County Commissioners for the resurfacing and improvement project located on Old Chillicothe Road.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Waiting for a second.
He-
No, I said I'm waiting, I'm waiting for
okay.
Joe to catch up.
Okay.
Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. Next is resolution number R 25/2023, second reading.
I move that we place resolution number R 25/2023 on second reading.
I'll
Sec-
s- Go ahead.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
A resolution concerning services to property proposed for annexation of 50 acres, parcel number 190-0-0-0-014-00 from Union Township, Fayette County to the City of Washington Courthouse, Ohio.
Move for adoption.
Second. Sorry.
Kinder.
Okay, roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. New legislation, first is ordinance number 5/2023, first reading.
I'll move we put ordinance number 5/2023 on first reading.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a partnership agreement with the Fayette County Commissioners for the administration of the PY 2023 Community Housing Impact and Preservation CHIP CHIP grant program if funded.
And next is resolution number R 26/2023, first reading.
I move that we place resolution number R 26/2023 on first reading.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
A resolution establishing a cooperative relationship between the City of Washington Courthouse and the Union Township trustees concerning the annexation of the Bryant property.
Joe, we're meeting next 2 days to vote on which one of these?
Ordinance number 5/2023.
Oh, okay. That's the chip, okay. Very good. Now, miscellaneous. Mr. Johnson, what do you have this evening?
Well, I want to thank Sylvia Call and John Smalley for coming and addressing us today. I at least have heard, and I think we're still figuring out some more things with recycling. I think we're figuring out about the signs on Columbus Avenue. So I think we're moving in the right direction, so thank you all.
Kendra?
I just wanna, I really didn't get to express this, but I was proud of the Blue Lions, even though I am a Panther right now.
Thank you.
And I was excited that the downtown was willing to put up their posters and their signs, and I was proud of them. I know they didn't get the win they wanted, but it was still a huge accomplishment to get to where they were. And then last, I just wanna thank those who did come down to the Marvelous Dad Shop Hop. And I really want to thank the volunteers on the committee, the businesses who either supported it physically and implemented activities, or those who supported by funding prizes. We had a really nice set of prizes. So, and there were a lot of people who were excited who got those. So, we can't do it without everybody chipping in. And so, I just want them all to know that it's important, and we appreciate that, and we recognize it. So, that's it.
Yee?
Well, you know what, kind of sad to hear about what's going on down around the splice pad. That kind of concerns me a little bit. I hope we get that under control, because there's a lot of positive things going on in Washington Courthouse. I was sitting at McDonald's this morning on Elm Street and noticed that the big blue bus and the little blue truck were loading up and getting ready to go out, which I think is a fantastic program for the city and the county. And there's a lot of positive things looking forward to out at the industrial park, things going on out there. Also, I want to thank Sylvia, you and all your hard work you're doing on the recycling thing. We're looking forward to hear more, what you come up with. John, thanks for bringing some attention of the speeding concerns there on Columbus Avenue. I know that is always a problem out that direction. So, and then there's just, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, for some reason, Mr. Lynch and I and Chelsea, we're always meeting up somewhere every weekend. We even went clear to Akron, Ohio, and there it was. And Chelsea was right there in front of me. So we spent a lot of time together over the last 3 or 4 weekends. So in the Honda plant, I'll tell you, that's very exciting. When we were out there at the airport for that, they had on June 3rd. Extremely exciting. If I was a young person today getting out of high school, I would be very excited about what's going on in Fayette County. Your future is looking very good. So, but a lot of excitement, a lot of things coming to Fayette County and Washington Courthouse. And so those things are exciting, and I look forward to continue working on those things. But that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Mr. Blair?
Mr. Chairman, I have really nothing to add to that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hogg? Yours?
I just want to compliment everybody that, all the organizations and all the people that made a big deal about Memorial Day. It is a big deal.
It's Flag Day today.
And today's Flag Day, and there's
Yes,
flags all
today's
over
Flag, I
the
forgot that.
place, and I appreciate all the people that did that. That isn't effortless. I mean, some people work. The ceremonies at the Washington Cemetery, the band got together and people spoke and people came and observed and saluted the flag and well, throughout the county. Jeffersonville had a parade, and I hope we keep doing that and we don't forget that. This year, I don't think December 7th was hardly even mentioned, and it's almost forgotten for Harbor Day and some other holidays that have to do with the sacrifice that so many people put in and many people gave their lives, and I just hope we continue to observe those occasions, and that's all I have.
June 6th is another one of those days.
D-Day.
Mr. Christman?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming and input from a couple of people. We're glad to get it. And glad to see the interest in the community. Invite some of your friends and family to come up and join us. We're glad to see you. And I'd like to give condolences to Keith Brown's family for the loss of his son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's all. I can only remember so much.
Jim.
I just close by saying thanks again to everybody who came, whether you spoke or didn't, just because you're here and you're interested. I love that. I love that. I think that's so important that we have people in the community that come just because they want to see what's going on. I think that's great. Kendra, I appreciate it. The community was very supportive of the baseball team.
Yes.
And when you've been around as long as I have, I told our team that they are only the fourth team in nearly 125 years that made it to the Final Four. The first one being in 1935-36. I was not there at that time.
I was not there.
But that's an interesting team because they started the season, they didn't have uniforms. And a merchant in town bought them uniforms and they ended up going to the state Final Four with their new uniforms. But we've only been there 4 times and I told the kids, I said, when you've been around as long as I have, you know how hard that is to do. And so the fact that you got there is a major accomplishment. Did I read in the paper, and Mr. Denon, maybe you can help me out or somebody, that we're now giving driver's tests here in Washington Courthouse? That is a wonderful thing. I mean, we had people, young people, being taken to Athens
Yeah.
and all over the state to take driver's tests.
Jackson.
I am so glad that they're doing that in Washington Courthouse again. That is a wonderful thing for young people. And then the last thing Mr. Denon brought up, there are several people in your life that have an influence on you, your parents obviously and so on. But one of the people that had the biggest influence on me was Don Moore. I had the pleasure of having Don Moore twice in my school career, once in the 8th grade, and then, thank the Lord, they moved him to the high school and I had him a second time for history. He is the person that made me want to teach what I'm still teaching, social studies. And he is the person, Mr. Moore talked about going to Miami University. Well, as far as I was concerned, there was no other university I was going to go to but the one he went to. And so I did. I don't know if that was Mr. Denon's reason for going there, but I went to Miami University because Don Moore did. And I got a chance to not only be in his class, I got a chance to work with him when he was an administrator and so on. He always said to me, Dale, will you please call me Don? And I always said, never will I call you Don, it's always Mr. Moore, because I had that much respect for him. Anyway, he will be missed. He was the best. Okay, with that, we shall adjourn if somebody wants to.
Move for adjournment.
Second.
Was that Jim?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't
and
miss that one
Kendra?
very often.
And roll call.
Schultz.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes, we are adjourned at 8:28.